I'm more than a rare exception, you can't compare him. I'm fly as the Skeegee Airman. My patience is as thin as her pants. You find a sucker cat that's...
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to be talking about the best AEW Dynamite in ages. September. Am I looking into the future? August the 17th, 2022. Obviously, Tony Khan said something that was ridiculous on the Twitter machine. We'll talk about that in a different video. We're going to talk about Dynamite here. There's no other notes worth discussing. All right. So, CM Punk comes out and he's got a lengthy promo. We're going to take this thing in parts. So he says he's got things to discuss. One thing not so important. Another one is very important. The not so important one is that he says if Hangman Page wants that rematch, he can come get it right now. Hangman Page does not show up. And thus he says it's not cowboy shit, it's coward shit. I'm sitting back and I'm wondering, why did he do this? Like, I know that he probably still has some issues with Hangman Page, but if they're doing Hangman Page as babyface now, what sense did it make for Punk to challenge him to a match right now? I don't know, man. I'm asking too many questions. I mean, one more question. Why didn't Hangman show up? Like, why would you build your babyface to be scared of another babyface? Why would you book that? Why would you look? I know you're trying to set your pecking order, but Hangman Page has kind of been off the beaten path for a while. He's wearing butterfly plants. He's going to be a second in the tournament, the trios tag team tournament or whatever. He ain't trying to cause no problems, man. I guess he's on vacation or something. It seems very weird that they would have CM Punk antagonize the guy like that. It just seems weird to me. Anyway, he told Hangman Page that the apology needs to be as loud and public as the disrespect. Then he moved on and said to the part that I really enjoyed, the part about Jon Moxley. Where he says everybody want to be champion until it's time to do champ shit. And says Moxley ain't number one. He could be the number one in your hearts, but he ain't number one to him. He says he knows what it's like to breathe into existence that he's the best in the world, that he's the world heavyweight champion. He knows what it's like to make that. He said Moxley is always number two. And he said he's the third best member of his group. And said that's a regular thing that he has going for him. Then he says that Mox is the interim world champion. Look it up. It means he is temporary. And he says that Moxley isn't even willing to test himself against his best friend. And his best friend is the third best Eddie that CM Punk has ever been in the ring with. That got people really rowdy and kind of chatting up. He says, well, he's the second best Kingston I've ever shared a locker room with. And they got really people like, oh, I personally liked him myself. And he said, these guys are not number one at anything. He's not even going to be the first John to lose to me in Chicago. So I really liked the structure of that promo. That was really nice. It was almost like a rap battle, with the structure of that promo. It's a scheme, So I liked it. So for those of you who might not be keeping up, CM Punk did wrestle Eddie Guerrero. He also wrestled Eddie Edwards. So that's why he's saying that, he's the third best Eddie. Eddie Kingston is the third best Eddie he's ever wrestled. And of course, he's friends with Kofi Kingston. They were tag team champions in WWE. So he says he's the second best Kingston he's ever met. And of course, he wrestled John Cena in Chicago. So there you go. He's not even the first best John. So I thought the structure, it was like a rhyme scheme. It's clearly written. All right. It was clearly written beforehand. Like, you don't come up with this kind of stuff in freestyle form. He prepared this, and I'm okay with prepared written promos. I don't care. I thought it was really good. And I even liked the part he said, stop me when I'm telling lies. That made it feel like that had big battle rap energy. I really liked that. I like that when things feel confrontational like that. CM Punk is coming back, and he's coming back with a torch. He's coming back with an attitude. He knows that this company was in the hole without him being there. So now he's trying to get them out of this hole. So Jon Moxley, and his music plays. CM Punk then shits on it and says that he knows it's going to be a while before Moxley comes out there. So he's going to do snow angels. And he's literally doing snow angels in the ring while Moxley walks around through the crowd, sauntering and moving his shoulders and all that kind of stuff that he likes to do. So Moxley gets in the ring and says that CM Punk is once again writing checks that his body can't cash. And that CM Punk said he's the best in the world. Usually he's not even the best guy at catering. Then said that in your hands, you think that microphone is a bomb, but it's not. It's just a microphone. And says that your words don't mean shit. Your belt doesn't mean shit. Even this belt doesn't mean shit. And they both throw their belts on the ground. And he says it doesn't mean shit until I beat you. Then he says that he is the heart and soul of AEW. To which CM Punk says, that's fine. I will be the dollars and cents. Which I like that too. That was a nice little, you can clearly understand that they pre-rehearsed that. Cause I'm almost certain their brains did not work this fast. Moxley responds by saying, we all know that Punk only came back because he needs the money. And that he's out of fighting spirit. And he says that, he says, so you out of money and you out of fighting spirit. So they got in each other's faces. Punk then was worried that Moxley would bleed all over him if he hit him. So Moxley kissed him and then they started to fight. So Moxley is a bleeding, wheeling, dealing, kiss stealing. I don't know. The disrespect. Anyway, they got into a big brawl. And there was an immediate separation. Moxley's promo wasn't as strong. You know, he's cut better promos than this. I expected a better promo battle. I think CM Punk brought A material and Moxley brought C material. It really didn't look like Moxley was on Punk's level in terms of microphone work here. They also didn't look very good when they were throwing them punches. Moxley's punches really didn't look good, especially since he whiffed like the first 3 of them. You know, like he whiffed them joints. But the energy was there. They needed the energy for this, you know, revitalized AEW. They needed this. They needed for somebody to come in hot, and CM Punk was the guy. I mean, he's just going to keep being the guy that's going to deliver for them. So it was good. I'm gonna give it a pass. It was good. Later, Tony Nese was about to come out there for reasons unknown, and he gets blindsided by Jon Moxley and knocked down. Moxley gets in the ring and says that there's no point in waiting for All Out. They need to unify those titles right now. And Punk marches to the ring. He's surrounded by security. They keep getting separated again. They throw a couple of punches. Claudio grabs Moxley and helps him go through the crowd. So they actually used these guys twice, which was very interesting. Very good. Very good. They're learning. That's a storyline. You set it up in the first segment and then you keep it going throughout the night. Now they only did it twice. They only had these guys show up twice. So you probably missed something at the end. They probably could have done something at the end, but whatever. They announced during the middle of the show that Jon Moxley versus CM Punk they won't wait until All Out. They're going to do the match next week on Dynamite, interim champion versus world champion. And I saw some people, a lot of people were really excited, really amped up about it. And I came with a couple of ideas, some negative ideas, some positive ideas. I try to look at things both ways. Let's be positive first. They're trying to capitalize off the energy from this promo. They don't want to give themselves any time to screw this up. So while people are very excited about the idea of Punk and Moxley, do it right now while people are really excited about it, rather than trying to drag it out for another couple of more weeks and running the risk of people not being interested anymore. That's one of the positives to you doing it almost immediately. The negatives outweigh the positives though. My number one was saying, assuming clean finish, they are really saying to their audience, you're going to buy the pay-per-view anyway. So we don't really need to save the main event. We can give you the main event and you're going to buy the pay-per-view anyway. And the pay-per-view was $60. Now, look, if it was WWE, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you already got Peacock usually. And even if you don't pay for Peacock, you still may have downloaded it and you still have it for free. So it is what it is. It doesn't really cost you anything. There's no really difference from turning on Monday Night Raw. So if you're going to a website and punching it in, that's about it. But AEW is selling these pay-per-views $50, $60 a pop. And if you're not going to save the biggest possible match for you guys to do for a pay-per-view, instead you're going to throw it away on TV. And I know that the concept of throwing it away isn't 100% false, because you are looking to draw ad revenue and pop a rating for your TV partners. So you do want to throw them a bone every once in a while. But you just had Jericho and Moxley the week before this. So do you really need to throw them a bone so quickly? You think throw them another bone that quickly? Are you really that desperate that you have to have Punk and Moxley on TV? But let's say that, it's a situation where Punk and Moxley are not going to have a clean finish. And it's going to be a disqualification, double pin, double count out, or whatever the case may be. Then you've blown off some of the heat by having these guys wrestle each other. So it's a big risk that they're running here with this thing. Do I think it'll affect the bottom line? Not really. I think AEW has such a dedicated audience that my first mind was correct. There's people who are going to buy the show anyway. So it doesn't matter. It could be CM Punk versus Tony Nese in the main event. They don't give a shit. They'll buy the show anyway. And that's just kind of how the AEW fan base are. And I think that they're taking advantage of them, to be quite honest, if that was the case. Telling them that they have to sit through the biggest match that they could possibly do, which is CM Punk versus Jon Moxley. And you have to sit through commercials. And, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem fair to me. It doesn't seem fair to me, but I'm going to be there. So it don't really make me that much of a difference. And I wrote down just, for shits and giggles, is this their Goldberg and Hogan situation where they're going to give away a clean finish and then try to have to figure out what the main event of the pay-per-view is going to be? Now, if the main event of the pay-per-view is going to be CM Punk versus, MJF, let's say, then is it worth it? I still say no, because you could just push back MJF's return until All Out. I think they need to try to make as much money as they can off this thing. They're not getting paid directly from ad revenue. That's just, hey, they're going to go to Warner Media and say, we did the biggest match we could possibly do. We could have saved it for pay-per-view and been selfish, but instead we gave it to you guys. We popped the rating. It's, I don't know. I think they'll probably do over $1 million for Punk and Moxley. And then say, here's what we did. And we really didn't need to do this because we're going to be number one on cable anyway, because there's nothing else on Wednesdays. But we did this, in deference to TNT or TBS or however that's working. I don't remember already. And we really just want to stay on this network. Look at what we're willing to do. That's an incredible act of desperation. And you don't negotiate in a position of desperation. That just means you're going to be taking losses. Still, it is what it is. I just don't know what the backup plan is. What's the backup plan? If the backup plan was, again, it's MJF versus CM Punk for the title at All Out. Okay, then I still don't agree with doing this on TV, but I see why you did it. If the backup plan is we're going to run a rematch at All Out with some type of stipulation, I say no. You better off doing the rematch on TV and doing the pay-per-view match on pay-per-view, or the first match on pay-per-view. I'm a big fan of the capitalistic venture of making people pay for stuff. Putting things behind paywalls. When you have an audience that's willing to pay for it, let them pay for it. Let people enjoy the match without commercials and all that kind of shit. And they have to deal with that. Now, unless they're going to have the match commercial free, in which case you're going to pay the network to hold ad revenue, on that particular match, then I don't know. That's interesting. It would be, I guess it's okay. You're a multi-billionaire, Tony Khan. You can do that, right? But I think they did mostly good stuff here. I love the CM Punk part of the promo. The Moxley part was kind of soft. I think he definitely can do that. He could definitely do better than that. They definitely showed you Punk was more motivated than Moxley is. You know, Moxley doesn't come across as being very motivated at all. He's taking very lackadaisical. You know, the sauntering, there was no sense of urgency as he was coming through the crowd or anything. Like, even though this guy's just sat here and talked all this shit about you. And I get that, you know, that's part of his whole cool hand Luke persona where he doesn't let this kind of stuff upset him. But he did get upset because he ended up, you know, kissing him and fighting him and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, man. I liked it though. I'm gonna give it a pass. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. So Hobbs cut a promo. He explained why he beat up Ricky Starks and said that he doesn't need friends and that Ricky Starks told the world that he's okay with losing, and he's not okay with losing. Hobbs is not okay with losing. He says that you hid behind me for 2 years knowing that I would get the job done, and I was hired to keep you as the champion, but you couldn't even do that. Then he said he had some stuff for the factory for letting him down. I like that. I like the explanation. You know, Ricky Starks tells everybody he's okay with losing. I pretty much called it when it happened, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure I said that, you know, this guy going in front of the world and saying that, hey, I'm okay with losing, I don't think that would sit right with me. You know, it wouldn't sit right with me. I'm just saying. It was short, sweet, to the point. Hobbs didn't gain anything or lose anything, but at least now we know the direction that they're going in. All right, 2 out of 3 falls. Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia. This match was entirely too damn long. God bless Bryan Danielson. You know, I really like that guy. If he lived in my neighborhood, I would take him a batch of cookies. You know, he's probably the nicest guy of all time. He cannot make Daniel Garcia interesting. He just can't. There's just nothing about this guy that intrigues me. You can work how many half-hour matches you want with this fucking guy. He's just not interesting. They renamed the sharpshooter the Dragon Tamer because that's Daniel Garcia's gimmick. You know, he's branded the Dragon Slayer all of a sudden. Daniel Garcia wins the first fall with the Dragon Sleeper. You get it? Dragons. Then he choked out Danielson. Danielson went to sleep. He fainted. Danielson won the second fall with a roll-up. I don't know. The match was going on forever. When they both started bleeding, I was like, oh my God. And then they were playing seesaw with the ring post and pulling each other into the ring post back and forth and back and forth. I was like, please get to the end of this thing. Please get to the end of this thing. They told a story about Daniel Garcia using Danielson's old moves against him, how he's mastered all these different submission holds and how he's such a technical genius and all this crap they're trying to sell you on. I'm not buying it. And Danielson wins with the label lock. Daniel Garcia ended up getting choked out and losing it. So after the match, this is when I started liking it. I could not. This match was too long, and I don't like Daniel Garcia, so I wasn't interested. But the post-match stuff was really good. So Danielson is up on his feet, and he's clapping for Daniel Garcia. And Garcia just got, choked out, so he's a little dazed, and he did a good job of selling that he was dazed and confused. And, Danielson's telling them to get up, and he's, motioning for the fans to clap and all this kind of stuff. I thought Danielson was a heel, but apparently he's not. So he's, telling, come on, get up, get up, get up. And Daniel Garcia gets up. The whole time, Jericho is on commentary yelling about how, Danielson got lucky. He still believes in Daniel Garcia. Garcia is the best, yada, yada, yada. And, Jericho is like, he just got lucky. So Danielson lets Daniel Garcia get on his feet. Then he offers him a handshake, code of honor, ring of honor stuff, right? So Garcia is thinking about doing it when Jericho attacks Bryan Danielson from behind and knocks him down. He, kicks him a couple of times. Then Daniel Garcia snatches Jericho and spins him around. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. So, Danielson showed Garcia some respect. Jericho was also giving Garcia some respect on commentary, but he couldn't hear that, right? So, Jericho and Garcia are kind of staring each other down. Jericho kind of gives him the finger wag and, you better watch your step, kid. What are you doing? So Garcia doesn't go over to Danielson and help him up or anything like that, but it's clear that he is showing respect and deference to Bryan Danielson. Okay. Later, Chris Jericho basically just says he needs to have a conversation with Daniel Garcia. He's going to give him a pass for grabbing him, but he's gonna sit down and have a conversation. They need to have a conversation next week, and he needs to know whose side is Daniel Garcia on. Then Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who is sitting ringside for the 2 out of 3 falls match, he walks over. He tells Jericho he's been the same scumbag for 15 years and that Daniel Garcia will be better off with Bryan Danielson. So Steamboat, Dragon, right? Did you get it? Did you get the theme? They say WWE is, heavy-handed. So, Jericho and Ricky Steamboat have some words about a feud from Backlash 2004 or some shit, 2006 or something like that. 2008. Was it 2008? I don't know. It was a long time ago. And then Jericho walks away, and then Skinny 2.0 gets in Ricky Steamboat's face. Then he grabs Ricky Steamboat by the face and ends up getting popped in the chest. So that was great. I love Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat rules. So this was good. I liked the post-match stuff with Daniel Garcia and Jericho because it was dramatic. But I'll say this, and I'm trying not to be too negative, but all of this is rushed, by the way. The Moxley Punk stuff is super rushed. The Jericho, Garcia, Danielson stuff, super rushed. It's like they realize they don't have a lot of time before the pay-per-view. And I know, because I've heard of the internal plan, was to have Jericho versus Danielson at the pay-per-view. And this is a good way to get there. They have some time to get there. But why not let it sit for a little bit? That was kind of my thing. I just don't understand why they're rushing everything. Everything is being rushed. It's like, let stuff simmer sometimes. Like, yeah, sometimes we want things to happen, but a lot of stuff was happening on this show. And it made the show feel rushed. Like, it was just too much going on. So, but I liked, generally speaking, I liked the Jericho, Danielson, Garcia stuff. It's good drama. Garcia is now stuck in between these two guys who both respect him. It's not a disrespect thing from one side, which, you would think that's probably what it would be. Maybe Jericho was talking shit at Garcia on commentary, and then, Garcia didn't know about it. And then, he kind of said something like, damn, I thought Daniel Garcia was good. He sucks. He just lost to Danielson. And then we give Daniel Garcia a week to think about it. And then he goes and he says, I rewatched the match and heard Jericho on commentary. And then that kind of feeds it into it. But Jericho was very effusive in his support for Daniel Garcia. It's almost like when there was comic book writers, right? Thor to be like, you're a real Thor, Lady Thor. You're a better Thor than I was. It's like that kind of shit where they're using Jericho to really put over Daniel Garcia because Daniel Garcia can't get over on his own. And that's not going to help. Because I was like, as I was watching that match with Danielson and Garcia, I just kept saying, what is he going to do when he's not in this situation anymore? Like, sure, people are paying attention to you because you're in the match with Bryan Danielson, but what about when you're not? What do you have that's going to make you interesting when you're not in the ring with Bryan Danielson? When you're not at the shoulder of Chris Jericho? What do you really have? And that's a difficult thing. And I think that Tony Khan is putting too much pressure on Garcia and Yuta. It's like he's trying to force these guys to be the future. It's like he did this already with Sammy Guevara, where he tried to force it and it didn't quite work, and Guevara ended up fizzling out because he wasn't ready. He just doesn't have the charisma, doesn't have the character. He just doesn't have it right now. And now they're doing the same thing to Wheeler Yuta, who is apparently invisible. He's not doing anything. and now Daniel Garcia. But at the very least, we can enjoy the now. And Daniel Garcia is actually interesting now as a guy who's caught between these two great wrestlers, both of whom are interested in furthering his career. And he gets to make a choice. He gets to make a decision. But I think after being so deeply entrenched with Chris Jericho for the last, I don't know, what was it? It's been 3 or 4 months to the point where he damn near killed Danielson just a couple of weeks ago. And now he's considering joining him. I don't know. It might be better for Daniel Garcia to just say, well, look, I was going to take care of Danielson myself. I didn't need you to do that. Then I think that would be a good way to save face. It's just for him to say, look, I wanted to beat him up. I didn't want you to do it. I wanted to do it. But that doesn't seem like that's the direction they're going to go in. Daniel Garcia turning babyface doesn't make him more interesting. That's the thing. Like, it's the crowd chanting, "You're a wrestler," at Daniel Garcia doesn't make him more interesting. Like, there's none of this makes him more interesting. It adds intrigue to the question of will he, won't he, where is he going to go? He's not really a sports entertainer. He's really a pro wrestler, but they don't tell us what the difference is. Up until this point, they've been beating the Blackpool Combat Club's ass in most of the matches, except for the ones that Claudio won or the ones that Moxley won. They've been beating the shit out of these fucking guys. Now, if they were doing silly shit like some of the skits or something like that, maybe Jericho had. What was the show he had on Raw? I forget, with the Jeritron 5000 or something. Maybe he was doing segments like that, and they were cringe and they were awful, and Daniel Garcia didn't really want to be a part of them. Take your time and be like, I don't really want to do this. Like, Jericho, I don't want to be, I don't want to do this. And Jericho like, no, it's working. Don't worry about it. I've done this for 30 years. It always works. And then Daniel Garcia's like, no, I don't really want to do the stand-up, the Jeritron. I don't really want to do that. I want to get in here and beat guys up. And then we define, like, that's what a pro wrestler is versus a sports entertainer is all about mic work and doing comedy and doing shtick and all that kind of stuff. But right now, it seems like there's no real difference between the two outside of JAS being obnoxious and calling themselves sports entertainers and getting in people's faces yelling about being sports entertainers. So it's like we didn't really delineate it as strongly as I would prefer, but I mean, it is what it is. That part of the situation is in the past. We can't do anything about that. But I don't know. After the question is answered of what side Daniel Garcia is going to be on, what next? He's just become another guy in Blackpool Combat Club, no different than Wheeler Yuta. And there's nothing interesting about Wheeler Yuta, So we need to be trying to find something for this guy where he has a character to talk from, and we can, because at this point he's real Dean Malenko. And I know some people really like Dean Malenko, and I do too at some points, but it's not enough in the modern day, man. There's a reason why Dean Malenko was cruiserweight champion 40 times or some nonsense, and rarely moved up the card. You feel me what I'm saying? All right, so Swerve and Lee were backstage with Private Party. Private Party saying that Swerve and Lee has embarrassed them once, they're not going to do it again. After they kind of corrected Swerve and Lee about Swerve and Our Glory, about them not being ranked when they're really number 5 in the top 5, and this was awful. Look, on a positive note, trying to be positive, at least until we get to. There's no reason to be negative about this show. I actually enjoyed most of it. Mark Quinn changed his hairstyle. Praise God, he doesn't look like some fuckboy anymore. He looks like a normal person. Got that coloring bullshit out of his hair. It ain't got the split down the middle, all that garbage. He looks like a normal dude now. Still sad that Private Party is, they were supposed to be next up. They beat the Young Bucks and everybody was like, oh, Private Party, they next up, baby. Don't you see it? They gonna push them. And here it is, 3 years later, and Private Party can barely get on TV. That's what happens when you don't have character. You got a gimmick where, you're a nightclub guys, but you don't have a character. We don't know what kind of decisions you would make. You don't have a voice. You can't cut promos. You looked goofy as fuck for a long time. And now they don't look goofy anymore. So that's good. At least they don't look goofy. As long as they don't wrestle in, tuxedo tails, we ought to be all right. It's going to take some time, but they need help. AEW could really invest in somebody to help their wrestlers look like stars. It really could help. And there's just too many guys who look like regular guys who hang out at outside of the gym. Not in the gym, but outside of it. Next, the Gun Club defeat the Varsity Blondes in a match that was so fast I looked away for a moment and didn't see what happened. Which, I was actually looking forward to this because I was like, I like Brian Pillman Jr. The Gun Club has been okay. So I'm all right to see them do a little bit something. I didn't want the match to go too long, of course, because it's cold. But I was looking forward to them doing a little something. And they decided to give us a squash match, which was surprisingly refreshing. Billy Gunn gets on the microphone, says that he's very proud of his sons, and this is the best thing he's done in his entire career. And then Stokely Carmichael comes out. And when Stokely Carmichael comes out, I was like, oh, was they about to turn on Billy? And sure as shit ain't sugar, that's exactly what happened. The Gun Boys beat up Billy, and then the Acclaimed ran down to the ring and chased the Gun Club and Stokely Hathaway off. And they scissored with Billy, and now Billy Gunn is hanging out with the Acclaimed. And again, this also felt rushed. It just felt like it was just a lot of stuff happening, Now, it makes sense because Billy was hard on his sons for a long time, even favoring the Acclaimed over them at one point. So this is kind of like karma biting him in the ass. So it's not rushed that much because this was weeks ago when he actually, turned his back on his boys and then sided with them against the Acclaimed. And then, they turned on him. So there's that ebb and flow there with the story. That's fine. My thing is Stokely Hathaway, we see him, just popping up, taking random low mid carders. It's like, I don't know what's going on here, The Billy Gunn hanging out with the Acclaimed, it is what it is. The Acclaimed as baby faces seemingly is going to work, considering there are a lot of people who do legitimately love the Acclaimed. You think that they're good, and I'm just kind of like, they're okay, I'm not thrilled with the raps or anything like that. Again, I'm not really a fan of big rap gimmicks, but people have fun with them. They're over, which is good. I don't think I've ever seen a tag team match from theirs that I actually liked, but I'm not really that big of a long match guy. But I'm just glad the Acclaimed are doing something. They have character, they have personality right now. The Gun Club kind of need personality though. They were getting that hanging out with the Acclaimed. I'm afraid that they're not going to have much of a personality now because nobody in Stokely Hathaway's group so far has any personality. Ethan Page just yells and gives you the crazy eyes. Who the fuck cares about him? And Lee Moriarty is as interesting as an elbow to the jaw. Who the fuck cares about that guy? So it's like Stokely Hathaway is going around just randomly picking up, mentally weak wrestlers. It's senseless to me. But, I'll wait for them to figure it out. But the Gun Club turning on Billy was actually good. It makes sense. Because he turned on them first. And as disgusting and shocking as it is to beat up your own dad, I understand if your dad disappointed you and hurt your feelings, like Billy hurt their feelings earlier this year. It would make sense, that you would reject him, like, oh, so you're proud of us now, huh? After you shit on us, before. So, okay, I'll give that a pass. Sanjay Dutt, the most useless man in wrestling, Sanjay Dutt, is screaming about something or other. I was just kind of like, what the fuck? Sanjay Dutt is as useful as a bicycle to a fish. He is absolute garbage. All right. It's just awful. And he's bringing down Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal he's got Jay Lethal yelling about something. I'm just like, I'm not interested. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. And then the big knucklehead, he said something, and I was just kind of like, huh? Was those words that you just said, or is it like, it sounded like horns, like one. I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway, they challenged him to a goddamn trios match, and I was like, oh, so Wardlow not even going to get a singles match at the pay-per-view. Of course, they agreed to it because they're the Pinnacle. FTR and Wardlow, they agreed to the trios match. So not only is FTR not going to wrestle for the tag team titles at All Out, Wardlow is not defending his singles championship at All Out. I'm stupefied by this. I'm just stupefied by this. You know, whatever. Wardlow tells Satnam Singh that anybody and everybody can get power bombs, which I'm guessing is the point of this match, is that so Wardlow can power bomb Satnam Singh. But my thing is, why not just make it a singles match? Because Satnam Singh, once he gets power bombed, he's useless. He's going to be completely worthless. And it was the same way with most giants. With most giants, once you beat them, it's over. You know. And that's just kind of how it is. It's unfortunate, but you have to have a lot of charisma, a lot of personality, and you in order to get over as a giant and then be able to do jobs and continue to be worth something. Because that's why when Vince did the Andre Hogan match, he would tell all these lies about Andre never being slammed before and how he never lost in the WWF before. He was telling all these fucking lies because he already knew if you tell people that Andre's been beaten before, he's been body slammed before and all that shit, then people are not going to see him as being a huge threat to Hulk Hogan. He's not going to be much more of a threat than anybody else that Hulk Hogan has wrestled. So you protect the giant by saying nobody's ever done this before. Nobody's ever beat this guy up before. So it makes sense. That's why, Andre had a difficult time because he was so big. And I think if you didn't listen to my 3-count library when I talked about the book, it was a routine thing. Because he was a giant, everybody wanted to beat him. But once you beat him, he loses his drawing power, So it was almost the exact same thing happened to Amos. As long as they was protecting Amos with the tag team with AJ Styles, everybody liked him. I noticed that flip, by the way. And then as soon as Amos got rid of AJ, he became one of the worst dudes on the roster, according to, people who pay attention to this kind of stuff. And then he got beat at WrestleMania. He has not been able to come back from that. Once you beat the giant, he's finished. So once Wardlow powerbombs Satnam Singh, Wardlow looks great. Satnam Singh is going to look like shit. It's going to be over. So I hope they have a plan B. And you might as well do it in a singles match so Wardlow can really get over. Instead of doing it in a 6-man tag, do it in a lumberjack match where FTR can be outside the ring and Sanjay and Jay Lethal could be outside the ring. The match is 3 minutes and ends with Wardlow powerbombing Satnam Singh. And we can get Satnam Singh the fuck out of here. And Wardlow could look like a conquering, giant slaying hero and maybe maintain some of his momentum. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that at all. So it's unfortunate. I feel bad for Wardlow because they threw him in the ice bath. MJF spent all this time getting this guy over. Spent 2 years getting this fucking guy over. And then Tony Khan just dunked him in an ice bath. Like, here's a title that's not hot. Versus a guy who's barely fucking over. And then we don't have any plans for you to defend against anybody. There's no opponents lined up. Your opponents are going to be ice cold guys who fucking lose all the time. And you're going to get tied up with the most useless man in wrestling, Sanjay Dutt. Good luck. Star making performances here. Pac cut a promo. It's been forever since I heard Pac cut a promo. Will Ospreay, I've been hearing words that you've been saying about being the best wrestler that the UK ever produced. I'm like, oh boy. He's like Triple H at 99. Where did he get his promo style? So apparently Pac has problems with Will Ospreay. They have unfinished business. And Death Triangle is literally built for the trios division. They're going to beat Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. And I'm like, yeah, of course they will, because Aussie Open doesn't normally wrestle in AEW, and they suck. So who cares, really? Yeah, Death Triangle was the second trio ever put together in AEW. I think the first was the Elite. So they should go pretty deep into the tournament. They're not going to win it. That's unfortunate. Jungle Boy, he came out there and cut a promo. It lacked passion. It lacked intensity. And the crowd chanted what? Because, he was bad. So he's back to cutting worse promos than before. He cut one good promo this entire time. And then thought, you know what? I did my job. It's like you score one basket in the entire game. It's like, you know what? I scored my points. I did my part. It's like Christian is out here trying to hit home runs every week. You cut one good promo and decide to take a break. So he comes out there and says that he was asked to never wear the Christian as a pussy t-shirt ever again. But the sentiment must be correct. He tried to hit Christian with his fist. He tried to hit Christian with a chair. He tried to hit Christian with a car. And Christian has not done anything about it. Then said that he wouldn't take that. But I can continue to chase you, or you can agree to fight me at the pay-per-view. Christian came out there, said no, and said that things are now have gotten completely out of hand. Luchasaurus headbutted an official and got himself suspended, so that's what explains why he's not there. Then he says that he's proud of Jungle Boy because a year ago Jungle Boy couldn't even put a sentence together. Then he says that none of us meant anything that was said. You got a little bit too personal, but I forgive you. Then he said that Jungle Boy is like the son he never had and got in the ring and tried to hug him. Jungle Boy then commences to whooping Christian's ass. So that was stupid. Why was Christian so eager to get in the ring? That made no sense. To think that a guy who tried to run you over with a car is this week now okay with you, and he's willing to give you a hug. Christian is supposed to be smarter than that. Like, his character should definitely be smarter than that. Maybe he should have just let Jungle Boy try to lie to him. Like, you know what, Christian, you're probably right. Maybe this thing is out of hand. I almost got arrested for trying to run you over. You know what? I don't want to ruin my life over this stuff. And, you cross the line. If you apologize, then maybe we can shake on it. Then Christian's like, hey, look, absolutely. I'm sorry for, what I said about your dad. Then he gets in the ring and then Jungle Boy tries to kill him. Outside of Christian trying to talk his way into the ring and then thinking that Jungle Boy's not going to try to kill him. In any event, Jungle Boy tried to kill him, bounced his head all off the steps and stomped him on the arm and just beat the tar out of Christian, which means he blew off a lot of the heat that the two of them had. Not necessary. It's completely not necessary. There is something to be said about not making contact with people. And I liked the part of the promo where Jungle Boy said he tried to hit him with his fist and he couldn't do it. Tried hitting him with a chair. He tried hitting him with a car. And Christian won't fight him. Christian will not come after him. That part told the story of why they haven't been involved in any brawls and why there's so much heat between them, because he wants to get his hands on Christian, but he can't. And then Christian just walks into his fucking hands. Like, why? 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 It's just, I'm asking too many questions. I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm asking too many questions of AEW, especially on a show that I actually didn't hate too much. Toni Storm defeated Kylie King. Wow. I didn't expect that to happen. I expected Kylie King, the girl who was a jobber all over AEW Dark. I expected her to come in and be competitive. No. They set up the match for the pay-per-view, Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa was watching the match on the television and clapped, sort of happily, I want to say, maybe in satisfaction that Toni Storm won. Thunder Rosa had a comment when she was on some interview. She said, quote, "It's been really challenging because being AEW champion on a major platform is different than when I was the NWA Women's Champion. There's a lot more at stake. There's a lot more that you're representing. and also a little bit of pressure. And when will she tell the truth that AEW just simply does not care about her being world champion? That's the problem here. You're world champion, nobody cares. All right, that's the issue here. All right, sister, nobody gives a shit. You're not booked like the world champion. You're not featured. You might as well go ahead and drop this belt. You know, that's why I say like the best thing for her probably would have been a heel turn, and I still think they might do the heel turn. If they were smart, they would do the heel turn. They would have Thunder Rosa bash Toni Storm in the head with the belt. You know, bust her open. I mean, I don't know why I keep saying that she needs to bleed, but she doesn't. But it's AEW, so they got blood on my mind. But they do need to do something because it's not going to work, man. This sucks. You know, this idea that Toni is going to win a cold belt. She's going to win the belt. She better win the belt. You know, Thunder Rosa can't do anything more with it than what she's doing right now. Tony's not going to do much more either, but, for fuck's sake, at least switch the belt, So, I don't know, man. It's Thunder Rosa. I feel bad for her almost. They went through all of this trouble of having this long storyline between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, leading people to believe that Thunder Rosa was great. But the Thunder Rosa situation is the typical babyface trap. You build up the chase, and then they finally get it. Now what? Tony Khan has none of the answers for the now what. After the hero, because stories are, a lot of our stories, human stories, are built in happily ever afters. The end. Story ends. Somebody dies, hero wins, or whatever the case may be. There's no point in going forward. But then we started getting serialized stories, comic books, pro wrestling, which means the story doesn't end. A comic book has to find a reason for Spider-Man to, continue doing what he do. You have to continue a reason why, you continue to care about Liv Morgan after she achieved her dream. Why do you still care? And you see in recent years, people are all for the chase. They're there for you during the chase. And then as soon as you achieve your dream, boo, or flat out silence, and they don't care anymore. And that's when you need to begin the second leg of your journey, the second leg of your character. Some people just don't have that second level. And it's all, I want to save the princess. And then you save the princess and it's the end of the game. Sometimes you need to save the princess and then still have other goals to achieve. There has to be something else. Like Westerns are usually like that. You save the town and then you ride off into the next town. You weren't going to stay. You just ride off to the next town. So it's going to be difficult for them because they're going to keep falling into the same trap. We're going to build up somebody. They're going to chase, finally catch the title, be the champion. Everybody's going to be like, yay, what a great chase. What a great champion. 2 weeks later, I wonder who's the next guy is going to be the champion because whoever the champion is now is not interesting to me. And they're not doing a good job of making Toni Storm anyway interesting at all either. She, again, is not talking. Nobody knows anything about her. All you know is whatever horse shit Excalibur rapid fires out of his jaws. At that point, you don't know who this girl is. You don't know what her character is, her personality, or anything. So, and they've had her in this roster since April, so it's been 4 months. And it also says a lot that it's been 4 months and she's probably about to be the champion, and it's pretty much over after that. Again, what's the next level? There is no next level. Moving on to the final couple of things here. There's a vignette for the Trust Busters and the Best Friends. Sonny Kiss is apparently a heel now. Who the fuck asked for that? Look, whatever. I don't care. Sonny Kisses cannot be made interesting by just doing this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's ridiculous. One of my subscribers did point out to me how much Arya Daivari is essentially just Tony Khan. And I'm like, I can't believe my numbskull brain didn't notice that before. Look, the difference. Tony is of Indian descent. He's Pakistani. So he's not Arabic. But Davari is. Wait, is Davari Persian, or is he Iraqi or Iranian? Because if he's Iranian, then he's Persian. If he's Iraqi, then he's Arab. And either way, go with Middle East. He's a Middle Eastern guy. He's supposed to be the richest guy in wrestling. And his money is buying wrestlers that nobody else apparently wants. A menagerie of bums. That's just, once you get to the point where you're signing Sonny Kiss, you're like, all right, you're not really hunting for the best, are you? Like, there's plenty of guys out there, that you could probably do something with, and for starters, the Trust Busters just sound like a ridiculous name. Like, instead of putting fucking Sanjay Dutt with Jay Lethal, why not Jay Lethal? Why not have, Arya Davari is the guy who hired Jay Lethal? Maybe we have him hire a couple of other, maybe former Ring of Honor guys. And we make that a part of the angle, is that, he's going to bring in some guys who, were overlooked by Tony Khan when he, purchased Ring of Honor. He didn't put any focus on those guys. And they're the best in the business or something like that. And, bring a couple of those guys in. And then you could also slip in Parker Boudreaux if you want to have your up and coming star. That's fine. But fucking one of those guys, I don't even know who he is. Like, I keep forgetting what his name is. He's just there. He's just a guy who is present in the fucking picture. Who is that guy? All right. He's to wear a fucking name tag. Anybody who comes on the screen, I don't know who you are, and you come out of nowhere and you're a part of a nothing fucking faction, you need to wear a name tag. Period. You need to wear a name tag. So I figure out who the fuck you are, then you can take the name tag off. Otherwise, who cares? They also promoted a match, Hook versus Zach Clayton, the reality Zach Clayton. And I just was like, who? Why are you doing vignettes for this fucking guy? You have tons of fucking time. Look, if you got vignettes for matches, do vignettes for stars. Do vignettes for stars. Why are we doing vignettes for Zach Clayton? Who is that? Why is that? Why are you wasting resources on this? Who cares? He's not going to win. Why do you care? Why did anybody care? Nobody cares. He's a jobber. He's a job guy. Fuck this guy. This is a misappropriation of funds. Why did we not get a Malachi Black Miro segment? Well, we got a fucking vignette for Hook versus John Clayton. Get the fuck out of here with this. All right? This is garbage. Main event time. La Facción Ingobernable. Rush, Dragon Lee, Andrade, El Idolo. Look at me. And then versus the Elite, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega. As if there was any doubt that it was going to be Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was noticeably smaller. Was it just me? Was it the fact that he was wearing a tight shirt? Or was he noticeably smaller in the upper body? I think he's off the gas, bruh. I think he had to get off the gas. Good. You never should have been on it. Get off the gas, man. So Omega is working ring rust into his matches by, not being able to fully do all of his moves. Like, he's doing the Terminator stuff and his knee locked up so he can't do the flip over the top rope. Even though he said in promos essentially that he wasn't going to be doing that kind of stuff anymore. He's going to end up doing it eventually. But they're trying to work ring rust into this match. Rouge, Dragon Lee, and Andrade. I really like these guys. I really do. I'm a big fan of all three of them. And to be quite honest, Dragon Lee is my favorite of the three. They did nothing to tell you who the fucking guy was outside of that he's Rouge's little brother. That's it. That's literally it. I don't know if he's been on this show before. If he did, if he was, it was in some type of nominal fashion where there was literally no intrigue or interest in doing anything more with him. But I like these guys. And they got bounced from the tournament in the first round. Really unfortunate. So Omega wins with the one-winged angel, with his shoulder brace and everything. There's so many people online that are like, Kenny Omega is so good. Look at what he's doing. He's acting like he can't finish. Like he was out of the ring for 270 some odd days. It hasn't been 10 years. Like he's working ring rust like he's been out of the ring for 5 years. The crowd is chanting, "You still got it." Like he retired or some shit and he came back after. Like, come on, you're being so dramatic. Everybody's being so damn dramatic. But I'm going to let them people have their fun. Don Callis is back. I'm not a fan of that, but whatever. This match was typical white boy Lucha. They just did all the moves they know how to do. They jumped all over the place, flipped all over the place. It was what it was. The last part, though, really weird. After Kenny Omega pins Dragon Lee, because Dragon Lee is the guy nobody knows, so of course he's going to get pinned. He's whispering shit to him, clearly on camera. I don't know why AEW doesn't understand that the cameras are rolling. It's like, people are watching you. Like, what are you talking to this guy for? So he's talking to Dragon Lee about something. He has Dragon Lee's hand in his hand and probably thanking him for the match and everything, doing the job for him and all that. It's not like Dragon Lee had anything else to do. Since you killed Ring of Honor. So, after the match, Andrade then hammerlock DDT's Dragon Lee to the point where Dragon Lee's mask came off. So Omega comes and it's like a small little kerfuffle, like a little bit of a cliffhanger where it's like, oh, Andrade, and apparently we don't know if Rush is about to join in. He didn't seem shocked that this was happening. So we don't know if he's turning on him or what's happening, but we know Andrade don't fuck with Dragon Lee anymore. And I was just like, wow. So not only do you bring the guy in sight unseen, for most people who might be watching this show have never seen the guy before, you beat him. And then you have his own brother turn on him with no fucking build-up. Great job. Excellent storytelling. Wink and a nod. Good job, bro. You did a great job, Tony. You did a really good job. Don't let nobody tell you different. You did a really good job. Dragon Lee is better than the both of Rush and Andrade. They have their individual strengths, of course. He doesn't have the charisma and the physicality of Rush. And since he wears a mask, he doesn't have the look of Andrade. He also doesn't have the notoriety that Andrade worked in WWE. But Dragon Lee is like tremendous, hopefully he sticks around. But my thing is, where were we going with this whole, these guys beat up Dragon Lee? Where are we going with that? Where is that going? Why would you do that at the end of the show? Why is that the end of the show angle? I don't know. Was there supposed to be more and yet they got cut off? Like, I'm not so sure what's going on. It seemed like Tony Khan, who did say he was watching Raw now. So apparently he must have saw Triple H, ending these shows with these shocking moments like Dexter Lumis jumping the barricade or something like that. And he's like, we need to have our own version of that. So we're going to have Andrade DDT Dragon Lee just as the show is going off the air. And everybody has to react to that, but it goes off the air. So now you leave a cliffhanger. That would be good if we knew who Dragon Lee was and we were assured that Dragon Lee was coming back next week. Since we don't know if Dragon Lee is coming back or not, why should we care? Like, you have a good plan, but the foundation is kind of whack because you don't fully follow through. You didn't really do a good job of laying the foundation. They really just started establishing Rush, So It's unfortunate, but Kenny Omega made his big return. I cared more about, Dragon Lee and Roosh and all those guys, but Kenny Omega made the big return. Everybody's very excited. The return itself was kind of expected, and I think they accepted that it was expected, and they didn't put a lot of effort into it. There was no real response from the whole Hangman thing. You would think that they would take some time and say, you know what, Hangman doesn't want to be our partner. Who could it possibly be? And then they could really even tease Brandon Cutler. Then they get a phone call, and he says, I'm in. Like, are you sure? Are you ready? And then we kind of build up to the Kenny Omega thing. But of course, it's typical AEW, so everything has to be a quote unquote surprise. So it is what it is. But I think Kenny Omega did good. The work in the ring rust was a bit dramatic, a bit over dramatic, I should say, because being dramatic is good in wrestling. It's been a little over dramatic, but overall, it's a 6-man tag. He don't have to do a lot, so I'm pretty sure he's okay with doing this. And the Young Bucks can do the heavy lifting, which is what they're there for. They're just there to avoid FTR, which is what everybody knows that by now. Especially when you look at what they got FTR doing. They put FTR in a trio, but they're not in the trios tournament though. Not in the trios tournament, but you're in a trio. Make no sense. Also, I didn't notice this before, but the Blackpool Combat Club are not in the trios tournament, and neither is the Jericho Appreciation Society. You would think both of those groups, who are some of the most featured guys on the roster, they would more likely be in these tournaments more so than the Trust Busters, who literally just got put together, or, to be quite honest, Aussie Open and Will Ospreay, who don't even work there. All right. Weird decision making, but I understand if you're not going to put the belts on Blackpool Combat Club, you're not going to put them in it. Same thing could be said for Jericho Appreciation Society too. But that also just tells you that your tournament is shite because you're trying to protect certain teams. So La Faction and Ingobernable get a hard team in the first round, and they get bounced. But the Trust Busters get the Best Friends, or the Best Friends get the Trust Busters. They're both kind of jobberific teams anyway. Who cares? But they basically get they get to go to the next round, which is stupid. But I'm done. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later. Actually, be talking to you guys pretty soon. We're gonna be talking about Tony Khan. Peace.